You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down, and it has made all the difference in my life. Your world is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you know when you find it. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. For the past 33 years, I have looked in mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. My favorite things in life don't cost any money. It's really clear that the most precious resource we all have is time. Computers themselves, and software yet to be developed, will revolutionize the way we learn. Creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it, they just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. That's because they were able to connect experiences they've had and synthesize new things. Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. Technology is nothing. What's important is that you have a faith in people, that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. We made the buttons on the screen look so good you'll want to lick them. Stay hungry, stay foolish. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you know when you find it. And, like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. Everyone here has the sense that right now is one of those moments when we are influencing the future. It's not a faith in technology, it's faith in people. Things don't have to change the world to be important. Design is a funny word. Some people think design means how it looks, but of course, if you dig deeper, it's really how it works. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It is life change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. When you are young, you look at television and think, there's a conspiracy. The networks have conspired to dumb us down. But when you get a little older, you realize that's not true. The networks are in business to give people exactly what they want. If you're gonna make connections which are innovative, you have to not have the same bag of experiences as everyone else does. I am an optimist in the sense that I believe humans are noble and honorable, and some of them are really smart. I have a very optimistic view of individuals. It's not the tools that you have faith in. Tools are just tools. They work or they don't work. It's people you have faith in or not. Yeah, sure. I am still optimistic. I get pessimistic sometimes, but not for long. The overall point is that new technology will not necessarily replace old technology, but it will date it. By definition, eventually, it will replace it. But it's like people who had black and white TVs when color came out. They eventually decided whether or not the new technology was worth the investment. Our goal is to make the best devices in the world, not to be the biggest. We're just enthusiastic about what we do. My biological mother later found out that my mother had never graduated from college, and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would someday go to college. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. I think money is a wonderful thing because it enables you to do things. It enables you to invest in earlier that don't have a short-term payback. We don't get a chance to do that many things, and everyone excellent, because this is our life. Life is brief, and then you die, you know. So this is what we've chosen to do with our life. As individuals, people are inherently good. I have a somewhat more pessimistic view of people in groups, and I remain extremely concerned when I see what's happening in our country, which is in many ways the luckiest place in the world. We don't seem to be excited about making our country a better place for our kids. And it comes from saying no to things, to make sure we don't get on the wrong track, or try to do too much. We are always thinking about new markets we could enter, but it's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. When you're a carpenter making a beautiful chest of drawers, you're not going to use a piece of plywood on the back, even though it faces the wall and nobody will ever see it. You know it's there, so you're going to use a beautiful piece of wood on the back. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. Be a state of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Sometimes life hits you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool if he ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, or fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. That's been one of my mantras, focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in you get there, you can move mountains. Sometimes when you innovate, you make mistakes. It is best to admit them quickly, and get on with improving other innovations. I believe life is an intelligent thing, that things aren't random. I want to put a din in the universe for you to sleep well at night. The aesthetic, the quality, has to be carried all the way through. A lot of people in our industry haven't had very diverse experiences, so they don't have enough dots to connect, and they end up with very linear solutions, without a broad perspective on the problem. The broader ones, understanding of the human experience, the better design we will have. You can't just ask customers what they want, and then try to give that to them. By the time you get it built, they'll want something new. Older people sit down and ask, what is it? But the boy asks, what can I do with it? The system is that there is no system. That doesn't mean we don't have process. Apple is a very disciplined company, and we have great processes. But that's not what it's about. Process makes you more efficient. I have a great respect for incremental improvement, and I've done that sort of thing in my life. But I've always been attracted to the more revolutionary changes. I don't know why. Because they're harder. They're much more stressful emotionally. And you usually go through a period where everybody tells you that you've completely failed. We have people who want to make the best things in the world. And no, we don't know where it will lead. We just know there's something much bigger than any of us here. You know, my main reaction to this money thing is that it's humorous, all the attention to it, because it's hardly the most insightful or valuable thing that's happened to me. Our DNA is as a consumer company for that individual customer who's voting thumbs up or thumbs down. That's who we think about. And we think that our job is to take responsibility for the complete user experience. And if it's not up to par, it's our fault, plain and simply. The people who are doing the work are the moving force behind the Macintosh. My job is to create a space for them, to clear out the rest of the organization, and keep it at bay. My motto for business is the Beatles. They were four guys that kept each other's negative tendencies in check. They balanced each other, and the total was greater than the sum of the parts. I am sorry, it's true. Having children really changes your view on these things. We're born, we live for a brief instant, and we die. It's been happening for a long time. Technology is not changing it much, if at all. These technologies can make life easier, can let us touch people we might not otherwise. You may have a child with a birth defect, and be able to get in touch with other parents, and support groups, get medical information, the latest experimental drugs. These things can profoundly influence life. I am not downplaying that. You see more and more perfection of that computer as a servant. But the next thing is going to be computer as a guide or agent. It's hard to tell with these internet startups if they're really interested in building companies or if they're just interested in the money. I can tell you, though, if they don't really want to build a company, they won't look into it. That's because it's so hard that if you don't have a passion, you give up. Part of what made the Macintosh great was that the people working on it were musicians, poets, and artists, and zoologists, and historians. They also happened to be the best computer scientists in the world. But if it hadn't been computer science, these people would have been doing amazing things in other fields. In most people's vocabularies, design means veneer. It's interior decorating. It's the fabric of the curtains and the sofa. But to me, nothing could be further from the meaning of design. We're going to be able to ask our computers to monitor things for us, And when certain conditions happen, are triggered, the computers will take certain actions and inform us after the fact. Who wants stylus? You have to get them and put them away, and you lose them. Yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. It is piracy, not all online music stores, which is our main competitor. Japan's very interesting. Some people think it copies things. I don't think that anymore. I think what they do is reinvent things. They will get something that's already been invented and study it until they thoroughly understand it. In some cases, they understand it better than the original inventor. Now, we are selling over 1 million songs a day. Now, isn't that unbelievable? That's 58 songs every second of every minute, of every hour of every day. This is what customers pay us for to swipe all these details, so it's easy and pleasant for them to use our computers. We're supposed to be really good at this. That doesn't mean we don't listen to customers, but it's hard for them to tell you what they want when they've never seen anything remotely like it. I think it's brought the world a lot closer together, and will continue to do that. There are downsides to everything. There are unintended consequences to everything. The most corrosive piece of technology that, if you ever seen, is called television, but then, again, television, at its best, is magnificent. I don't think I've ever worked so hard on something, but working on Macintosh was the neatest experience of my life. Almost everyone who worked on it will say that none of us wanted to release it at the end. It was as though when it fell out of our hands, it wouldn't be ours anymore. Pointing is a metaphor we all know. We've done a lot of studies and tests on that, and it's much faster to do all kinds of functions, such as cutting and pasting, with a mouse. So it's not only easier to use but more efficient. So when these people sell out, even though they get fabulously rich, they're jeeping themselves out of one of the potentially most rewarding experiences of their unfolding lives. Without it, they may never know their values or how to keep their newfound wealth in perspective. I met a friend's garage. He was about 18. He was like the first person I met who knew more electronics than I did at that point. We became good friends because we shared an interest in computers, and we had a sense of humor. We put all kinds of friends together. But innovation comes from people meeting up in the hallways or calling each other at 10:30 at night with a new idea, or because they realized something that shoots holes in how we've been thinking about a problem.